It's not dissimilar to a major extinction event.
Okay, so this is not the video I originally intended to put up. The original time I posted this, it got knocked down by YouTube's medical misinformation policy. You'll probably understand why when you watch the video. So this is an expurgated version. The video is not a violation of YouTube's policy, but the algorithm thought it was, and the algorithm under, then the human review also thought it was. I mean, I'm happy that YouTube is cracking down on medical misinformation, and that's a good thing. And I also feel their pain about, their so-called human review. Probably every single person will ask for a review, and so they probably run out of humans to actually do the reviews. So, it's a problem. Anyway, let's see if this version will pass muster. This is actually covered, YouTube, under your medical misinformation policy, under the subsection about educational, documentary, scientific or artistic content, and you say that we may make exceptions to if the purpose of the content is to condemn or dispute misinformation that violates our policy. And if you watch this video, you would clearly see that this is disputing and criticizing content that would normally violate your policy. You just need to watch it and see that, yes, I'm super critical of the of the medical misinformation that some people are putting out there. So yeah, if you want to see the unexpurgated version, there probably will be a link in the description of a place where you can go to see it if this version annoys you, because it annoys me. Anyway, here we go.
It's not dissimilar to a major extinction event.
So there we have internet doctor Andrew Wakefield comparing messenger ribonucleic acid immunoprimers to extinction level events. So, should we be afraid of these messenger ribonucleic acid immunoprimers? Let's check out the doctor's claim. Oh, it's a doctor called Andy Wakefield. That's a vaguely familiar name. I think I'll have to look that up a bit later, but let's see what Dr. Wakefield has to say.
You give a
immunoprimer,
things like measles, mumps, rubella, or a
immunoprimer,
whooping cough
immunoprimer
is either a killed part of the bacteria or a live virus, and those elements, when given to you, directly elicit an immune response. These so-called
immunoprimers
don't do that. What they do is they give you a piece of genetic engineering from the virus, part of the original, the gene of the virus, that encodes for a protein that you want to make the immune response to. You inject that piece of genetic engineering, and it goes into your own body's cells, where it switches them on to synthesize the protein to which you produce the immune response.
Well, yes, it sounds like Dr. Wakefield has pretty reasonably explained the difference between the old types of immunoprimer, But I think he's trying to scaremonger a bit. Look, if you ask me, in fact, injecting a live virus or a killed bit of bacteria versus injecting a nice clean bit of messenger RNA into your body, I mean, I'd actually rather take the messenger RNA, because you don't have any other sort of crap that's in there that's come in from a virus. And a live virus, that's actually more of a concern than injecting a nice clean bit of RNAs.
You inject that piece of genetic engineering.
Okay, so not a doctor anymore, Wakefield. You keep banging on about this being genetic engineering. This is not genetic engineering. Now, genetic engineering, I'll see if I can explain it to you, you moron. Genetic engineering, see, there's a hint in the name. It's about engineering the genetics, engineering the genes. And genes are made out of DNA. Even a fifth grader knows that genes are made out of DNA. And this is an RNA immunoprimer, which is not DNA. There's a hint about what sort of vaccine it is. It's also in the name. It's an RNA immunoprimer, messenger RNA vaccine. So no, this is not a genetic engineering. You're not being genetically engineered when you take the messenger immunoprimer. Sorry.
And who knows where that's going to go in the future.
Fascinating. So are they saying this, the Pfizer and the Modernas, the Bill Gates, are they saying they're actually synthetically putting in, they're modifying, or is this something that we just know because we're looking at what's in the...
They're not necessarily modifying our own DNA and RNA. They're putting extra RNA in there, or extra DNA, that then that causes our cells to do something
we don't know,
completely unusual, something it would never do, and that is to produce viral proteins.
Whoa. He called himself a doctor, and he's just made the statement that a human cell would never produce viral proteins. That's how viruses work, dumbass. Viruses aren't alive. Viruses infect human cells and make the human cells produce viral proteins. Anytime you've got a virus infecting your cells, the human cells are producing a viral protein? You're some sort of moron.
If that protein from the virus that your cells are producing causes an autoimmune disease, that's it. There's nothing you can do about it. You can't switch that process off because your own cells have been conditioned to do it.
No, Wakefield. There's no process to stop. This is a self-limiting process. You inject RNA, it is translated into proteins for a very short period of time. The RNA degrades. The products of the RNA is always in your body, in your cells. It's a naturally occurring compound. Body can deal with it. It just degrades like any other RNA in your body, and it's gone. There's no DNA to make new copies, new bits of RNA, so this stuff that's been injected, it's there for a period, and then it's gone. And you should know this if you weren't a lying shitbag trying to, I don't know what your game is, but yeah, lies. Fucking lies.
See the eradication of all diseases through vaccination, not for the benefit of mankind, but because they believe they have the technology to do it, and it's worth so much money to them.
So I'm pretty centralist in my politics, so I mean maybe some lefties can explain this to me in the comments, but check this guy out. Could someone explain to me why it would be wrong and bad if we're able to eradicate all diseases using vaccines and companies made money producing those vaccines? Can someone explain why that would be wrong?
I've been described as a pathological optimist, and I think that we are in a classic time of sort of Darwinian selection, that people will live and people will die, and it's a tragedy that it should have to have happened in this way.
Oh, come on, Andy, you've really jumped the shark now. Watch this. He's trying to say that are going to be an extinction level event on humankind, but that's an optimistic thing to him as well. He thinks that, vaccines are going to wipe out most of the human race. But that's an optimistic point of view because he knows that people are going to survive, and he's cheering you on. Don't vaccinate your children because they're going to be the future of humanity.
But there will be survivors, and the survivors will be those, as we've seen in the vaccinated versus unvaccinated studies that have been now published, are that those unvaccinated children are remarkably healthy. They do not have these chronic health conditions. They are robust. They are as children should be. And they will be the survivors. They will carry the human genome forward into the future. But we are in a very, very uncomfortable position now. It's not dissimilar to a major extinction event that what the Earth has seen 5 times in its geological history.
So I said before I didn't know what Wake Fraud's game was, but I've now looked it up and I now know what Wake Fraud's game is. He's actually a professional anti-vaxxer. He does anti-vax for a living. He's a disbarred doctor. He can't practice medicine anymore because he is a fraud, got basically kicked out of the medical profession for fraud, and so now he's a professional anti-vaxxer and he makes money selling anti-vax propaganda. So yeah, that's his game, and he's a horrible human being.
people forget that what a fraud this guy is. And I just want to read an article, or bits of an article from this British Medical Journal article about Wakefield. Yes, this talks about a journalist by the name of Brian Deer, who shows the extent of Wakefield's fraud and how it was perpetrated. Drawing on interviews, documents and data made public at the General Medical Council hearings, Deer shows how Wakefield altered numerous facts about the patient's medical histories in order to support his claim to have identified a new syndrome. How his institution, the Royal Free Hospital and Medical School in London, supported him as he sought to exploit the ensuing MMR scare for financial gain, and how key players failed to investigate thoroughly in the public interest when Deer raised his concerns. Deer published his first investigation into Wakefield's paper in 2004. This uncovered the possibility of research fraud, unethical treatment of children, and Wakefield's conflict of interest through his involvement with a lawsuit against manufacturers of the MMR vaccine.
You've got to bear in mind these companies that make these vaccines are beholden to their stockholders.
Please save us your holier than thou bullshit about the evils of the capitalist system. You didn't care much about the evils of the capitalist system back in 1998 when you were fraudulently altering children's medical records to make it look like the MMR vaccine was really dangerous. In the meantime, you're taking nearly £500,000 UK pounds as a consultant in a lawsuit that was suing the MMR vaccine manufacturers, at the same time fraudulently creating evidence to convict the MMR manufacturers. Save that holier than thou bullshit. Back in that time, you applied for a patent for a measles vaccine. Seems like you were a bit of a fan then, as long as it was your vaccine that you had a fucking patent for, you absolute prick. So I've had a Valium now. I'm feeling a bit calmer. I can answer the question that I posed at the beginning. Should we be afraid of the messenger ribonucleic acid immunoprimers? In summary, no, because the people that are trying to frighten you about things are liars. And that's really about it.